Hello, my name is Reese Linville, and as the Education Senior Associate for OHUG Headquarters, I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, Innovative Integration Solutions for Oracle HCM Cloud and Taleo, New Hire and Offer Advanced Data Calculation Integrations. OHUG is pleased to add our 2017 webcast programming with this informative and educational event. Before we begin, I'd like to remind the audience that all attendees are on mute and to please feel free to submit questions through the event via the question box on your webinar toolbar. We will reserve time at the end of today's presentation for questions as well as during the demo portion. Following the event, you will be allowed to evaluate today's session through the webinar tool. Your feedback is greatly appreciated, and this presentation will be available for download on the OHUG website. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to our presenters. Please start when you're ready.
Thank you very much, Reese. My name is Pierre. I am VP of Customer Success at the Cloud Connectors. I'm joined with Jeff, who's also VP R&D. I want to welcome everyone. Today we have over 170 persons that have registered from 15 countries on the webinar. Some of you are HR analysts, business analysts, managers, HR consultants, system admins, IT specialists, directors of HR, and VP namely. And we have a special guest who I will introduce in a few. In today's webinar, we will show innovative integration solutions for Oracle HCM Cloud and Taleo using our integration platform called Connect Everywhere. We will demo end-to-end integration, starting with an innovation, the Offer Advanced Data Calculation Integration. We will also show you a new hire integration from Taleo into HCM. So we will now present ourselves, starting with Jeff. Jeff, to you, please.
Thank you, Pierre. Hi, everybody. My name is Jeff Tremblay. As Pierre said, I'm VP of R&D with the Cloud Connectors. I've been with the Cloud Connectors for a little over 2 years now, I believe, and then previously I was product manager at Taleo and Oracle for about 12 years. I worked with Taleo. I did manage the Taleo Connect product, Taleo Connect broker, all the passport frameworks. So I know in and out the integration with Taleo and to do cloud-based, and very happy to be here today and to present those use cases. Back to you, Pierre.
And this is Pierre. I am VP Customer Success. I've worked 17 years at Oracle Taleo in customer support, product management, release management, including 10 years of integration consulting. I've delivered over 150 integration projects and worked with 100+ Oracle clients. Customer delight is my ultimate goal. About the Cloud Connectors, here's info on who we are. We have worked with most of the Fortune 100 companies. We have implemented thousands of integrations and delivered successful integration projects. Our team has an average of 10 years of experience in HCM. Our clients are super satisfied, and most importantly, we're here to assist you. In fact, we are your business partner. We want to work with you to find and implement solutions. We offer many products and services. We deliver pre-built and pre-tested integrations, which are installed in the cloud or on-premise, and you choose what is best for you. Our solutions mean lower total cost of ownership to you. Our solutions allow rapid delivery to meet your project timeline and business objectives. Our hosted integrations require no server, no software to install on your infrastructure. Our integrations are reliable and secure. We have integrations with Oracle HCM, PeopleSoft, TBS, Taleo, Workday, iCIMS, ADP, Smashfly, assessment vendors, and much more. Our integration platform as a service is called Connect Everywhere. So the question is, why do we want to use Connect Everywhere platform for integrations? Well, our platform does more for less, which means we deliver more advanced integrations for lower total cost of ownership. For example, we do real-time integrations. And we do more use cases such as resume upload via emails and candidate matching. Why does it cost less? Because integrations installed on-premise require internal resources, servers, and integration support from a third party. So the good news is that with Connect Everywhere, all of the above is included. And now it is time for our guest speaker. So everybody, I would like you to please welcome Denise Chase from Pitney Bowes. Denise, It's all yours, please.
Hi, Pierre. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. This is Denise Chase. I'm the manager of recruiting technologies for Pitney Bowes. I've been at Pitney Bowes for 6 years and working with the Taleo applicant tracking system, reporting, TCC, and onboarding for 9 years. I'm happy to be here. I just want to give my referral and recommendation to the cloud connectors. I've worked with Jeff and the cloud connectors for quite a long time, and they are a fabulous company, and they've done great work for us at much lower cost than actually Oracle could do, and with a very good result. We've had integrations with them with passport vendors, our new hire integrations, our requisition exports. We've had them, we're on a VM server platform now, and we're looking into using Connect Everywhere to for cloud connectors to host the integrations. We have many, and it's very much of a problem using the VM server. So we're looking to do that and remove our VM server. Jeff also worked with me to integrate an assessment vendor that was not an Oracle OVI vendor or passport vendor with coding behind the scenes, and it works fabulously. And everything that the cloud connectors have done for us has been working great. And they're very, very supportive of all the changes and products that we have. We're also going to be working on doing some kind of calculations with our offer data and our career site with the cloud connectors, because maybe a few of you know that Taleo does not do any customization, being a SaaS system, and Pitney Bowes loves to have customizable and exactly what we need. And Jeff and his partners are wonderful integrations, and we work with them all the time. So I hope that in the future you use cloud connectors. If anyone has any questions, put it on to Pierre and Jeff, and I will be happy to answer them. Thank you, and back to you, Pierre.
Awesome, Denise. Thank you so much. All right. So now we're getting into our demo with our Connect Everywhere platform. So Jeff, now to you, please, for the demo.
All right. Thank you, Pierre. And thanks, Denise, for all the nice work. We really appreciate you being here, and we always appreciate working with you guys. So it's been great. All right, time for the demo piece of this session. So the use case, the first use case that I want to demonstrate is the offer calculation. As Denise said, we had this request. The request came from many customers, and there's a current limitation in Taleo that you cannot automate your the calculation of your offers based on complex requirements. So, for example, based on the job type, we are trying to make an offer based on its position. Most of the companies have requirements and have very specific ways of calculating the offer that should be made, and you can't put all that logic directly into Taleo. So Denise and other customers came to us and said, "Can you help with this? Is there any way to do this?" And the answer is yes, and that's what we're going to demo today. So the first piece, I'm just going to log into the Connect Everywhere. So this is our platform. When you work with us and you go with the hosted option, this is what you get. So ultimately, you get two of those environments, which right now I'm using a staging environment. So one, you get one for staging, two that will connect to your staging Taleo or other HRMS for all testing and UAT and all that, and then you get a production version that replicates. So now if I go here and I'll just prepare this environment just to show you. So I'm going to select the first piece that I'm going to show you, which is the offer calculation. I'm going to enable it so we can actually view this. when I trigger it. Now let me go into the Taleo system, which should be here somewhere, right here. Okay, so now I'm in the Taleo system. I'm going to go pick up an offer to demonstrate this. Okay, so I have Praveen that is ready to calculate an offer. So let me open up Praveen. Let's take a look at the offer. So I'm going to wipe out the data, make sure you see. And so the purpose of this, what we're trying to demonstrate for simplicity, we're just going to calculate 3 pieces of data: the annual bonus, the other bonus, and then the last one, which is this is a piece of data, and then there's an other compensation field that are going to be auto-calculated. So for this demo, we're asking the user to input one field, which is a user selection component, say input this piece of data, and then we're going to calculate the rest. Of course, based on your requirements, we can adopt this, entirely. It can be adapted based on your actual requirements, but for demo purposes, this is the one we're going to do. So to trigger the integration, this is a real-time integration. I'm just going to use the correspondence manager to launch everything. I'm going to say calculate my offer, get it ready, press next. So we're using a pre-built Taleo template to do this. And then as you see, we're sending just 2 pieces of information to trigger the workflow, which is a candidate unique identifier and the rec. So with those 2 pieces of data, we know exactly which offer to update. So I'm going to press send and trigger the integration. Now I'm going to quickly flip over to our console. And as you see right now, the integration already started, and now it's actually completed. So what happened? And I'm hearing myself, Bob, so we just sent an email. So I'll walk you through this use case very quickly, how it works technically, and then I'll just show you back in the offer to see that the offer was updated. As you see, it took about maybe a couple of seconds, maybe 2 seconds to do the entire thing. So how it works from a technology perspective, the first piece is a REST service. So ultimately, the email trigger a REST service for us, a REST request on the platform that is awaiting for the integration to run. So it's a listener on a REST. What it means, and this is entirely customizable, so you can create new workflow on this platform, and we can create as many as you want. And we just, like I'm just configuring, I say, okay, this REST method is going to be, you're going to receive a REST post and your path is offer. And then that's it. So that's initiate. And as part of the transmission, those 2 pieces of data that you saw in the email are coming over in this REST call. So the candidate unique identifier and the rec. Now second step, I'm just storing those, and I'm creating local variables for easier use later on in the process. And I'm saying, okay, store the candidate number and the rec into 2 variables. And then I'm just logging them into the logs. So whenever, if you search, you can search by candidate ID or rec ID very easily. It's just to uniquely identify the transaction. And at that point, I'm ready to do a web service call into Taleo to extract the information. So at this point, I'm calling the find service into Taleo to say extract me information, and I'm doing a simple SOAP request. If anybody's familiar with Taleo XML format, this is just the SOAP request, what we send to Taleo to extract data. So it's a synchronous web service into Taleo. I'm extracting 3 pieces of data. Job type, annual bonus user selection component that I showed you, the $1,000, and then the email for the to know who to send the email back to notify them when the transaction was done. And I'm just filtering based on the rec number and the candidate number for this one. So then the transaction moves on. So in this case, this store, so our application is natively works in JSON. So since Taleo sends back in XML, I'm just loading basically my XML into my pipeline. Then I'm just going to do a quick evaluation on this one. So I'm just saying, is there a value in my annual bonus, the user selection component? So I'm saying if it's null, if there's no value, stop here, which is, this is a if, so it just says this is the true, the false, continue. So if I don't have anything, at this point, send an email to the recruiter saying, hey, the offer was not updated, just to notify him because you forgot to fill out the 1 piece of data that we're asking you. Again, this is entirely customizable based on our requirements, but basically we can prevent if there's any scenario where a recruiter could do a mistake and launch the integration by mistake, we can actually intercept it and notify them the right away to say, hey, do this to properly continue the workflow. In our case that I'm just demonstrating, there was an actual value, so it simply continued along, and then it did my calculation. And then the calculation is easy in this case. I'm just saying, okay, check the job type. If the job type is human resources, then do this calculation here based on my value of the user selection component. Otherwise, if it's retail, do another calculation. And there's a default to say otherwise do this one. So once I have the information calculated, I'm doing another web service call back into Taleo, say call the offer service, and then I'm passing the 3 pieces of data that I just calculated. And for of course, the candidate and the rec that I just I passed over. And finally, I'm sending a notification back to the hiring manager, the recruiter, whoever did the transaction in the system, to say, hey, by the way, your offer was updated for this candidate, you're good, and we put a deep link so that they can directly go into the system. So now if I look back in my email system, I should see the offer. This one, okay, I receive an email, says, yep, your offer was updated. If I click on the deep linking, it's going to open me a new browser. It's just going to open me on the offer, and then I'm able to see it at that point. Let's wait for it to load. And now I have the information calculated automatically in the Taleo system. So that's our first use case that we wanted to demonstrate to basically that we can do offer calculation and in a real-time fashion too, and we can actually intercept and make correction as the flow. So now as a recruiter, I'm pretty excited. I want to say, oh, all right, my offer is calculated. Let's get to next step. So I'd like to say, okay, at this point, I would like to hire the person and say send to HRIS, which is my second workflow. Before I do this, let me quickly flip over to my platform and bring the workflow because this happens pretty quickly. So we do want it to run and execute. So we're ready to view it. Now back into Taleo. I have this one, press next. So again, this one is a different, so we're using a different trigger. This one is a new hire. Same 2 pieces of data that were for the workflow. So we have a candidate unique identifier and the rec. So with those 2 ones, we know exactly which application to trigger. And I'm going to hit 10. Let me bring this one. All right, the transaction already started. You'll notice something a little different. This one, we did a different use case. It's to show that we can actually just run TCC on our platform. So if you want to run TCC in a web base, oh, and then the workflow, you see that it followed. In this case, actually, it didn't complete. So, and I'm hearing my cell with a beep. So basically, I just received an email that will tell me what went wrong. So, but let's look at that transaction, how this one works. So the first piece is exactly the same. So I receive, let me say I receive a transaction fail. So we'll look at it later on. But first piece, I store a transaction identifier, the same thing as before. I log them if I want to search for anything. But then I'm using TCC here to run. So TCC natively doesn't have a concept to say, pass parameter on the fly to say only run for a specific application. But since TCC and XML, ultimately TCC, a new hire is just an XML file. What we're doing in this one, I'm just running a simple XSL transformation, which is just transforming XML on the fly. I'm passing in the 2 parameters that we're capturing in our workflow. And I say transform on my default TCC and input the data into it. So this one just actually have 2 filters built in with no data into it. Just says, candidate equal to this, candidate number and rec number, and I'm just transforming it. And then when I run my TCC, I just say, okay, run against this one and produce me a worker file. So the TCC workflow, if I'm just loading, when I click this, I just say, show me the TCC that I loaded before, and it's just a wrap sample retrieve. That this classic TCC doesn't have anything to do with, basically it's a very standard TCC export. So now the process runs. It generates me a worker file. Now I just say load my worker file to my payload. And similar to the offer, I'm doing a quick evaluation to say, okay, could there be use cases that are not appropriate to run this basically because the recruiter is asking for the transaction, but something, there's something wrong in the process. So if I look at this, I'm just saying, okay, evaluate my, I extracted all the information and I just say, check the step. If we're in offer, we're good to go. So then check the status. If we're in the case of approve, yep, okay, we're saying I'm creating a variable that says move forward. That means we're good to go when we want to continue in the process. But if I don't have the status of approves, I'm saying, okay, it's the wrong status. Otherwise, it's just a wrong step, basically, that you asked. So my if then just says, okay, am I good to move forward? And in this case, if it's true, this one, it's going to work, continue on the true. Otherwise, it's false. I'm just sending an email to the recruiter saying, okay, candidate ID payload, this transaction failed, and then I send them a quick email with why it failed and the hyperlink. So if we look back at why it failed, I got an email. And that's what I just received. Says, oh, you've asked for a candidate to be hired, but it didn't work because if I read this, it says because the candidate is in the wrong status. Okay, so please make sure you're in the offer accepted. So let's go take a look at our record. And indeed, so right now the step is offer draft. So basically you still need to go to do an approval, right, from a requirement to say, okay, now that your offer was calculated, you need to get it approved before moving forward with the workflow and actually trying to hire the person. So, you know, we just got a little too excited with my offer being calculated, try to hire him right away. It's not the case. You need to first go to the approval process. Instead of going through the approval process and retry, let's actually find somebody, if we have somebody that is in the right step status, to hire him. All right, let's look at this. And look at this. We have Roger Federer, which is in the offer approved step. So let's try to hire Roger. I'm guessing he applied before winning the tournament this weekend. So at this point, send to HRIS. I'm going to try it. Come on, Roger. So I'm going to retry the same transaction, passing the identifier this time again. Before I do this, I'm just going to reset my workflow very quickly so we can have a fresh view on it, make sure we can follow it from the start. And now I'm going to press send. Start the transaction. Okay, let's come back here quickly, and it just started again. So now we're doing the second transaction, but this time with Roger. So it goes through the same process again. We'll have different identifiers, so the TCC will run against Roger, and it just went through. And at this point, you see that it went and started the transaction with Fusion. So the first piece is the evaluation with Taleo. Now the second piece is when we do transaction with HCM Fusion, it has a specific format. It's a worker.bat, so we're just automatically mapping the flat file from Taleo into what HDL works. And then right now we zip the file, send it to Fusion, and now it's processing it. So let's go have a quick look inside of the Fusion. So now I'm in the HCM Core Fusion. I'm in Data Exchange. So if I look, you see there's a fresh transaction right now that is being processed, which is this UCM FA 10827. So that's the first transaction. Can take sometimes I think it's pretty complete at this point. So let's go back to our process. It's almost done, and then this one, unfortunately, since you can't do real time, like this is an asynchronous transaction, even though the trigger happens real time, it can take maybe I don't know how long it took, probably a minute to run. So we can't go that much faster because Fusion, that's the way we create. Right now we're creating new hires with Fusion. So it goes through HDL, and it's a bit of a longer process, but Oracle they keep releasing new web service, and they have REST service that are available, and eventually we'll be able to just do it, even in a faster way. Now, if I look at the email, okay, you see that this one I just hired. The candidate was hired successfully. Right now we're also extracting as part of the process before sending the email. We're doing another web service call into Fusion, and we're saying, give me your report for the transaction I just sent you. You see this, UCM FA 10827. So if I open it, basically it's the log from the Fusion site, and there was no errors. If in case there's any errors, it's going to show me like, oh, you tried to hire on, for example, this organization, but somehow the organization doesn't exist. And those use cases can occur if there's any desynchronization between your system, like between Taleo and Fusion, if somehow your integration didn't run or you had any other issue. So there could be errors. We can trap them. In this demo, we're simplifying by just attaching it to the recruiter's email. If your company works differently and say, for those types of error, we'd like to go to this person, we can accommodate pretty much any scenarios. So just received this. So this worked. Now if I go back to, let me go back into Fusion. Apology for that, my cell just ran. And then I just want to see if we have Roger. So let's go to the person management. Now that we loaded, I'm not sure if it's case sensitive. Let's try this. No, it did work. So right now I just loaded. As you can see, I just sent Roger. It loaded. We're creating the person number for this demo. It just says Taleo Enterprise Edition, and then we're passing the candidate number. That's the candidate ID. It's for tracking purposes so that you can easily refer back to. If you prefer to have Fusion assigned numbers, we can do that as well. We can accommodate pretty much any scenario. And in this case, we created an employee directly. We're not creating a temp worker. We're really creating the employee right away. So let's take a quick sneak peek. We'll manage person. And I see Roger was loaded. In this demo, we're sending really basic information, but we can fill pretty much anything you see on this page, and we can do contacts. We can do pretty much all the scenarios in this one. So that completes what I wanted to show. Hope I didn't go too fast or anything. Pierre, will end it up back to you, and I believe it's time maybe for some Q&A. I didn't took any of what's going on, but we'll just open it up for question and answer. So back to you, Pierre.
Sure, so thank you. Yeah, so one question came in the chat window, and it said, and by the way, everybody, you can enter questions, and we'll answer the questions today. So one of the questions that came in is, can the new hire integration be done with PeopleSoft or with EBS?
Oh, very good question. Yes, they can. So there's different ways of doing that. So both of those systems actually have web services available, so we can interact directly with those web services if you want to. If there's more requirements on your side to say, oh, but or PeopleSoft or EBS goes through our middleware layers, that's fine. We can interact with your middleware. We just need a ultimately very simple web service done on your middleware, and we can do both parts if you want us to. We can talk to the middleware and then do transaction from your middleware into those systems, or directly into them from our platform. But yes, definitely both of them can work.
All right, thank you. Other questions that are coming in. So I see. The question is, what's the technology behind the platform?
Good one. So we use as our processing engine, we use Google's Chrome V8 engine, which allows us to pretty much, it's the fastest technology to run anything on the web these days. So it's a very powerful engine. And for programming language, we use Node.js, which is the language that's run on that platform. So we develop in Node.js, and we use that as the engine. And we deploy using, it's called Docker. So anything that is deployed and run in production is embedded. So Docker is really powerful, where ultimately see this as a little bubble that contains all the code, and it's a closed bubble when it runs. So you don't even need an OS. Ultimately, everything runs through that little engine. So that kind of sums up a little bit of the technology we're using. Hope that answers.
Yeah, and by the way, if you have any questions that you don't have time to ask today, or that you want to follow up with us, please contact us with pleasure. We will answer the questions, and we will post the answers on our website. To the next question, the person is asking, can you simply schedule and run the new hire integration instead of running on demand? Jeff.
Yes, we can. There's different. What I've shown you is a real-time integration. So basically, you're giving control and power to the recruiter to trigger on demand. But we can. There's other ways we can do this. We can tie it to the move. So if you'd like to say, oh, I don't want the recruiter, like for the use case I just shown you, we could do like calculate the offer, and then the offer goes through the approval process. And if you want to automate to say, once it's approved, I want it to go to a step in status that is my trigger. It's going to be the new hire. We can also tie the same concept and tie the integration to the move. So basically, as soon as it moves, it's trigger an integration just for that record and do it this way. So that's one way of accomplishing it. And if you prefer to say, no, I just want batch, of course we can. Our platform allows scheduling jobs and just run batch job. And of course, that's the easiest part we can do it. It's a different behavior or experience, right? If you schedule versus what we're showing this. With this, what we're trying to do is implicate the end user to notify them right away of if there's anything they didn't do right or wrong, or and then you follow per transaction per actual candidate. If we batched, and it's more of a, I guess, the old way of doing things where you process by batch and then you send the results to somebody that will pick it up and take control from there. But yes, we can accommodate all scenarios.
All right, thank you. Going to the next one, which is, would it be possible with your platform to do other integrations like receiving candidate resume or photo, anything like that?
Yes, we can. So we do have a product which I think is called Easy Candidate Upload. So if we switch it around a bit, but yes, we can ultimately. By receiving, what you can do is, let's say that the recruiter receives an email like a resume, you can forward it to, similar to this, we create a workflow where he just sends to the resume to a Dropbox. And then we process the resume, and then if there's user interaction needed for the recruiter, and the use case could be, well, there's that candidate, because what we have at that piece of information is the email from the candidate, and then if there's scenarios where we actually need an input from the recruiter, say, well, you have like 3 candidates in the system with that same email. Which one do you want to match the resume to? So then we send them an email, they just click, and then we present them the option, and they say, which one do you want to match? They match, and it loads. So yes, we can do that. And similarly, we can do that for photos as well.
Okay. I'll say thank you for the person that asked. So next question is, can we design integrations with that tool?
Yes, we can. So there's and I didn't show you. I didn't want to show too much just to confuse, but definitely you can create a workflow. When you purchase an environment from us, or the what I just shown you, I was showing you a demo. Ultimately, you get a server with a bunch of templates that are predefined, including some TCC template if you're doing TCC or otherwise. So, and you can simply take a template, copy, paste, and say, I want to use that one as my sample, and then just modify it. Or you can create from scratch. But yes, you can create new workflows for
sure. Okay. Another question that came in is, can this connect everywhere be installed on premise?
Good one. Yes, it can. So there's a little caveat is not everything will work, especially like we just shown you a demo of real-time integration, and the trigger is an email. So all of our workflows can run on premise except the triggering piece, because the REST listener, understandably, if we install on your side, you're not going to have the technology like to listen to the REST, because that means we need to install in you, we need to have the infrastructure to have REST listener to make this run, which are not work on premise. So except from that, everything works. Yes, we can make it work. We can install workflows. So anything that you want to, if you want to do complex integration, but that are more scheduled or that are not real-time triggered by a REST call, yes, they can be on premise. But if you want to run anything that is real-time, that has actually like REST over HTTP, REST over SOAP, as I was demonstrating, or anything. So all those use cases have to run in the cloud, because there are other components that only works in the cloud that goes around them.
All right. Then the next one is, where is that platform and integrations hosted? Is that hosted on your server?
Yes, it is. Yeah, so we have our own set of servers, our own data center, so it's on our servers. Yes, it is.
All right. Very good. So let's move on. So that'll be it for this set of questions. I'd like to suggest that we go back to the PowerPoint, please. And let's go there, and we'll simply move on to our next topic. There we go. Okay, so team, you've heard many advantages of Connect Everywhere, and we have a fun homework for you. So the fun homework is very simple. So, and we suggest that you do this after the webinar. And so, in other words, think of all the internal costs that you have for your integrations, including the resources and servers, and come back to us. So once you have these numbers, contact us, and we will work with you, because we can guarantee we can reduce these costs and therefore contribute to your organization's productivity and bottom line. Now, in conclusion, why the cloud connectors? So it's great that we saw the Connect Everywhere platform, and we want to tell you about why to go with cloud connectors. And so first, we are experts in integrations. So we have a vast experience with clients of all sizes, from all industries, from local companies to global companies. Second, we want to listen to you. Yes, we want to hear your challenges and be your business partner in your organization's success. Third, we have best practices to share with you. We can propose options, present recommendations, find solutions for you and with you. Fourth, our team has unparalleled experience and uses up-to-date technology, as you saw today. Fifth, we've worked with the majority of the Fortune 100 clients, and we have resolved simple to complex challenges. And sixth, our clients are super happy. In fact, today you've heard it from Denise Chase at Pitney Bowes. So 6 reasons to partner with the cloud connectors. And now let's go for more Q&A to see if there's more Q&A that came in. So I see there are a couple of others. So let me just check on that. Okay, so one question came here. So what's the difference in between real-time and near real-time? Jeff, to you, please.
Sure. So, well, to sum it up, I guess near real-time is not real-time. You know, even though it's more of it's a batch integration that you're trying to make it mimic a real-time integration. So ultimately, it's a batch integration that is ran at super high frequency. So if we think of a case of a TCC job, imagine your batch job that you're going to schedule every 5 minutes. So it's so if you think about it, let's say you're running your new wire and say I'm going to run a new wire every 5 minutes and call it near real time. What you end up doing is you're pretty much running an integration 500 times a day, and if you're hiring 10 people, that means you're going to create, you're making 500 calls to pick up 10 real transactions. So from a technology perspective, they're pretty different. From a end user perspective, it's, then it's, you can't really go, when you have a batch integration, it's very dangerous to go above 5 minutes. So nobody does it unless you're looking for trouble usually. But you kind of have this near real time, you have a max of about 5 minutes that you can go. You don't go above, versus real time, you can go pretty much depending on the end system, the API, what it will allow you. But we just demonstrated it. You can go from, a couple of seconds pretty much to do your integration. And they're more efficient because you only do the transaction on a needed basis, right? Like we've shown you, is ultimately is you have something to do, you do a transaction. So it has benefits that fall a little bit all over the place from a technology. It's a lot lighter on all the systems. You don't overload them with false requests that has no purpose. So there, there's improvement. It's better from a technology perspective and efficiency. So hope that answers the question.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Other question. So is the SOAP request an API call to the Taleo database?
Yes, it is. Yeah, the SOAP request is an API call to the Taleo. It is. So when I was demonstrating the offer, ultimately, yes, the SOAP is an API call, which Taleo has 2 types of APIs. They have synchronous, which is the synchronous, which was used for the offer use case that we demonstrated. So those ones were done with the synchronous one. So it's a SOAP call, but synchronous. And then the new are in that one, we use the asynchronous, which is still a SOAP call, but those are the layer that TCC uses. So those are the two types, but ultimately, yes, they're API calls when we use the two kinds that Taleo offers.
All right. Next question is, couldn't I do the offer calculation via a JavaScript within the recruiting center?
No, a very good question. The thing is, you can't inject JavaScript in the recruiting center. So Taleo never opened that door. So you cannot inject JavaScript inside of the Taleo recruiting center. You can. The only place you can is in the career section, and it's a controlled it's still a controlled process, meaning you cannot inject anything in there, but you can. But you cannot in the recruiting center. So, but very good question. If it would be allowed, if there would be a way for you to do that from a technology perspective, yes, it would work. But you cannot because it's not open. So.
Thank you. Another question was, can the last example also update Taleo and move the candidate to hired?
Very good question. Yes, it could. And I probably should have added that as a demo. I think I'll improve it. I like the idea, but definitely it could. So we could do, in that case, once we receive a successful transaction from Fusion, we could just add another step, which is move my candidate in the workflow to actually, it would be on top of the email. We're already sending a recruiter an email to say, yep, it worked. But if you want to automate that move and say, now it's in Fusion, definitely we can do it very easily via web service call. And there's synchronous web service call available for that, so it would be a fraction of a second transaction, so it's easily doable.
All right. Next one is the new hire that you just demoed using the standard Taleo to HCM integration, or was this a custom integration that you guys created?
Another good question. This is a custom integration that we created. So the standard, the out-of-the-box, I believe Oracle calls it the out-of-the-box integration, creates temporary worker. So you can't create directly an employee. What we demoed is we actually directly created the employee. So we used a custom one. We didn't use the standard one.
All right. Another question here. Can your tool be used with, say, TBE and EBS or PeopleSoft?
Yes, it can. So we have pre-built connectors with TBE as well. So we have all those. We have a pretty vast offering. Like pretty much all the use cases with TBE are covered. So we have out-of-the-box offering on our own that are working. So ultimately, it's a pre-built template that you can customize if you want to add field or anything. But we're covering the full branch of what TBE needs to do, basically. So definitely. And then for EBS and PeopleSoft, yes. Again, our technology is, ultimately we came from the Taleo world and the Oracle world, so we demo right here today a lot around those products, but our platform is agnostic of those. Ultimately, we can interface with anything that has an API, either REST or SOAP. As long as there's an API, we can interact with. And both EBS, PeopleSoft, there's web services, and again, as I think I said earlier, is if we can interact with them directly or via a middleware. If you have a middleware on your side that that's your entry door for any integration with backend system, we can go through that door as well.
All right. Next one. If we want to implement this solution, do we need to have middleware license?
No, you don't. You simply need a contract with us. So there's no, this is our own technology. We build this from scratch, so everything belongs to the cloud connectors. You don't need any license. So it's web-based. You just purchase through us.
All right. Another one. Will these integrations be set as pre-configured connectors that can be purchased, or will each integration need to be created from scratch?
Excellent questions. This is a mix of both. So what we're trying to do is we always come to the table with a template that is the closest that ultimately you will need to use for the, we've been doing this, as Pierre was saying, for all of us on an average over 10 years. And like Pierre is like the guru of all integration as far as functionality, and he knows all the systems. So we always build templates based on best practices that works in the industry. So we know what customer needs. So that we come to the table with this. So if, for example, an organization or a location import from HCM into Taleo, we can come to the table with a template that will work for 95% of the customers. So there's a really good chance it's going to fit for you. You won't even need to touch it. So you can just say, yep, I can take this one. It's going to work because we know what you need. But there's things like the new hires will always need customization, and that's because Taleo and HCM are customizable. And they're SaaS product, but you can customize them for your needs because not every single company is the same and they don't have all the exact same business processes. And you will use customization to adapt the product to your technology, which means that when we build the integration, there will be user-defined fields. So until we talk to you and understand how you're using the products and which field you're using and which field needs to transition as part of your new hire into Fusion or into EBS or PeopleSoft, until we have those discussions, we cannot know. So most of the time, the customization will be just adding those UTLs. And we can do this for you, of course, as basically you could do this on your own, but we can come to the table and there's a piece of consulting and we'll do all the adjustments for you. And ultimately you'll have, you still have a full product, or it's hands-on. The technology will be entirely hands-on because we'll do all the work for you if you want us to do it. So.
Very good. Next one, can the integration handle address validation between Taleo and HCM Cloud new hire integration?
Yes, it can. So just to be clear, so right now Fusion only does it for US. So the only place so we can't, of course, do it worldwide because it's not supported by Fusion, but there is the address validation in the US inside of the Fusion. So what you need to do before that, so if you want that, is we need to pre-synchronize Taleo, because unfortunately Taleo and Fusion don't have the same core data when it comes to location with zip code to do this pre-address validation, but we did have a way where we pre-synchronize both systems with all this data, and then we just have a pre-step validation that where the candidate will re-enter his address with the data from the Fusion system, but inside of Taleo, and when we send, we know it's pre-validated. So that's one way. And also there's, if you don't want to do that route, there's the best practice is what we do is we never send the address for US, let's say, if you don't want to have the candidate do this inside of Taleo, so re-enter the address and say, no, they already entered it in recruiting, we don't want to have them to re-enter though we're hiring them. Then what we do is we'll send the address as a separate transaction so that it never breaks. So, most of the transaction will still go through even though you have address validation because it will still be valid. Both systems are not entirely strangers to each other. The core data is pretty well aligned. But for all those exceptions, we're just sending a separate transaction anyway. So which we mean is we'll send a new hire first without the address, and then we send a separate transaction back into Fusion as a second transaction for the address. So even though the address is not pre-validated, it's not going to break. It will only for those exceptions will not have the address in Fusion. And you say, okay, please re-enter for only those exceptions. You'll ask your employee to fill in this data. Long answer, but complicated question.
Thank you, Jeff. Next question is, what is the difference between TCC and the cloud connectors?
So Taleo Connect client is, I guess they have both the same acronyms. So the Taleo Connect client is a product by Oracle, which is a fat client that you can only, it's a unique workflow. You can't go out of that workflow. You can only add some pre and post processing to it, and then it's a batch tool mostly. You just schedule it through the OS, and it does a batch. Ultimately it's made to do batch integration that you're going to schedule. So that's kind of the limitation around TCC, and it's a single workflow that is you know, it always does the same thing. So as soon as you want to do something fancy, you end up doing a lot of things in batch or windows that come in line, and then so ultimately you can only do batch, and you will be, you know, anything fancy you'll end up doing in Windows batch and then or Unix script depending on the OS, which and then you end up with something like you know, just that was kind of the version that the Oracle services team did, which was the, you know, ultimately a bunch of complex Unix scripts or batch scripts. With our platform, you have an interface and you create your workflow through a web interface, which can or cannot include, as it's one of those steps, can be a TCC step, but you can go way further because you can embed as many integrations together, you can tie them up, and then you can tie processes together a lot more easily. So you have a nice UI interface to build and to review if anything goes wrong. It's very easy to view what went wrong. So it's, you know, it's web-based. You don't have to run or create batch scripts, so everything runs through the webs. Hope that that answers the question.
All right, next one. How are address validations issues? So I'll repeat that. So how are address validation issues handled? That's the question. Are they corrected in Taleo if the initial send to Fusion is rejected and then the send to HRIS?
Okay, so I guess that seems like a further second question to what I just explained earlier. So just to re-explain, perhaps I was not clear. So if we send in 2 transactions, then ultimately the address will ask to directly go into Fusion. Most of the time, as a best practice, we'll just say go into Fusion to fix it, because at that point the record has been transferred into Fusion. So the employee record exists and they're there. They simply, as you start the onboarding for, you know, the process or inside of Fusions for payroll, for whatever, if you have no address, then you can just ask, the person can log in and fill it out, or whoever's managing that will view that there's no address and can ask the candidate, say, hey, please send me your address, and that person will do it. But at that point, best practice, just be in Fusion. There's no point to fix Taleo to resend, because otherwise you need to re-trigger a transaction that already occurred. So Fusion.
All right. Next question. Fusion. Yeah. Next question is, Fusion goes through upgrades every 6 months. If there's a change in the worker or work relationship or any of the worker objects, will your team accommodate those changes?
Yes, we will. So most of the time, those changes don't have impacts on the API, and they should not affect. But if they do, we will handle for sure. So we'll fix, and that's I guess the advantages of going cloud is for us is we take care of those. So we'll know, and then we have many customers, so we'll know if there's an issue or an upgrade that needs to occur and you're on our platform, we'll upgrade you automatically to a patch. We'll say, there's this impact, we'll evaluate, all the integration running, and we'll patch it. If you're on your own, on your side, then at that point, you're responsible. So your team will need to be aware and then act accordingly to change. So of course, if you purchase through us and went on premise, you can contact us and say, I need an upgrade. But at that point, we still, it's an upgrade of your code that you're on. So we won't be able to pre-warn you because you're kind of, it's installed on your side. So it's easier for us to track what's in the cloud and what runs on our platform. So.
All right. Next question. Can you upload onboarding documents?
I'm assuming that's uploading into Fusion, the question. So I'll answer with that angle. So yes, we can. So in Fusion, in HCM Core, there's a feature to attach, attachment to employees, and yes, we can. So we can extract them from Taleo and load them into Fusion. Yes.
All right. Next question, and I'll answer that one. So it's, will the presentation be available for for reviewing again, or for my team members that could not attend today? So yes, it'll be available on HOAG and also on our website at the Cloud Connectors. All right, another one. Are you able to pass data back from Fusion to Taleo using this integration?
Yes, we can. So the full, what we've demoed today are 2 use cases, but of course, if we actually have package that can replace the out-of-the-box that are more in-depth. There's many flaws with the out-of-the-box package. We actually have a package to replace them entirely, to do the full organization, location, department, full fields and job templates, very more rich integration. We have a package for that. Contact us. We do bi-directional integration, so we'll be able to totally sync both systems between each other, keep them in sync. And if for some reason you'd like to send back information after the hiring from Fusion back into Taleo, we can accommodate it as well. That's not an issue.
All right, next one. Can you create bulk offers for high volume roles that have the same details behind being hired into the same rec?
I'm sorry, Pierre, can you repeat? I didn't grasp it.
Absolutely, yeah. So can you create bulk offers for high volume roles that have the same details being hired into the same rec?
Bulk offer. So I think okay, so if I'm understanding, you'd like to automate the offer piece, to say, I'd like to automate my workflow as much as possible and automate the offer piece. Yes, the answer is yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, so we have another question that was also asked. So can your platform be used, say, with TBE and EBS? So we got that already covered. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. Hey guys, great to hear your voices again. Sorry if I missed it before, had to step away. How do you recover if one of the systems failed? So how do you go back and capture all the new hires since the failure?
Good question. So, well, first, if Taleo in the demo, so let's take for example the demo case of what if if Taleo is down, we don't really have to worry because the recruiters cannot be in, right? So, I mean, if Taleo is down, that means recruiters are not in. Since we're talking about real-time integration, it's not a batch system, right, where we have to worry about the jobs that are not running while people do things. So since it's actually happening right now, well, we don't have to worry about Taleo being down, because if it's down, the recruiter is not doing anything in it. That's the beauty about real-time integration. Now, if you're asking to send and Fusion is down, of course, the transaction will fail. And in this case, and I didn't demo this to keep things simple, but ultimately we have see this as in the real workflow in production as a try-catch. So we do a simple try-catch that says, if it breaks in any pieces of the data that is not expected, and usually that will be one of those. So meaning I'm trying to send my records to Fusion, but it's down and it doesn't accept it, we'll intercept it and we'll notify the recruiter to say, hey, we tried to hire, but right now it's down. And then depending on how you want to handle it, we can queue it and say, we're going to retry automatically ourselves, or some customer will say, no, we'll just retry whenever it's back up and do it later. So we can accommodate both. We can put it into a queue and process and say, we'll retry later, but that brings confusion. What we found is it's easier actually to just say to the recruiter, bring them, because they'll be used to say, if I don't do something right, retry myself. So if you queue it, there's a big chance that he's going to just retry it himself anyway and forget. And then that could basically, you'll have two transactions. Now you'll have to handle easiest way. You communicate back to them, say it failed, and they just try later on. In the email, you just say, just try it later on. The system is in maintenance, basically.
And so that is fantastic. Jeff, that was our last question of the day. We're almost at the top of the hour. So I'd like to say, first of all, for closing, thank you all for attending this webinar. We invite you to connect with us on LinkedIn, on Twitter. We will be sharing news with you. We invite you to contact us to schedule a personalized demo and take the time to hear you. We are the Cloud Connectors, your business partner. Have a spectacular day. Thank you. Rees, back to you.
Thank you, Pierre. And again, I'd like to echo Pierre and thank all of you for participating in today's webcast. A special thanks today goes to our speakers, Denise, Jeff, and Pierre, for sharing their expertise and lending their time for this learning opportunity for all of us. As a reminder, a recording of today's webcast will be available for download on the OHUG website. And again, thank you for attending today's webcast and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you all.